So I have been following Mehdi Hasan for the past month now and watching almost every interview and debate that he's had because he is just crushing anybody that comes to him wanting to debate about Israel and Palestine or the election, the U.S. election. So it's been awesome to see him not only kind of stomp these guys in their debates, but he also is educating. Like every time that I listen to him, I end up taking something new out of it, which I really, really appreciate. I kind of feel sometimes like I get a little bogged down with repetitive information, like just redundant shit, especially, I hate to say it, following the Kamala Harris campaign, you hear a lot of redundant shit. Which they just kind of like a quick aside, they were bringing up like how because of that, she had to change because they were saying, yeah, there's enough people out there who are saying that you've been saying the same thing that we need to pivot, which I'm not sure if that's working because you have seen her slide in the polls. But aside from that, Mehdi, he had an interview this is kind of like an interview dash debate. It's really an interesting format that they did. He was on Al Jazeera and he was talking to this guy named Adolfo Franco. He was at one point, I know, a conservative commentator. Not sure exactly what he does anymore. I'm not really too familiar with him. I did a cursory look, Google search on him, and it didn't really turn out much beside that, and that he is kind of a Trump proxy. So I wanted to watch that and kind of get everybody's take on it along with my own. So let's take a look.
I only want to be a dictator for one day.
With the 2024 U.S. presidential elections just weeks away, former U.S. President Donald Trump is in the thick of a renewed campaign, pushing more aggressive and authoritarian rhetoric than ever before.
We pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country.
Yet somehow it's the radical left that has all of the violent rhetoric.
So, given he refused to concede defeat in the last election and was impeached for inciting an insurrection on January the 6th, is Trump a genuine threat to U.S. democracy? My guest tonight is Adolfo Franco, a spokesperson for the Trump 2024 campaign. Franco spent decades advising the U.S. government and was a close ally to the late 2008 Republican presidential candidate, John McCain. I'm Mehdi Hasan, and tonight I'll go head-to-head with Adolfo Franco. I'll challenge him on his continued support for Donald Trump and what a second Trump presidency would mean for the United States. I'll also be joined by three experts. Reed Galen, a co-founder of the Lincoln Project, a group founded by former Republican strategists to oppose the re-election of Donald Trump. Danielle Moody, political commentator, host of the Woke AF podcast, and co-host of the Democracy-ish and New Abnormal podcasts. And Errol Moorcoach, a political strategist and spokesperson for Republicans Overseas, UK.
Interesting.
Adolfo Franco, thank you for joining me on Head to Head.
Thank you.
You were born in Cuba, and
Yes.
you fled the country after Fidel Castro came to power.
Correct.
You came to the United States, escaping political repression.
Correct.
You're a Republican.
Yes.
You're part of a party that has long prided itself on being a party of freedom.
Correct.
You've worked on presidential campaigns. You worked for
have.
John McCain, a man who also talked a lot about freedom.
Yes.
You're currently supporting Donald Trump for president, who I think it's fair to say is a little different to Republican presidential candidates who have come before. He is a man who heaps praise on dictators. He says he wants to be a dictator. He even told a group of supporters recently that they'd never have to vote again if he wins this time. How do you go from fleeing, in your words, a brutal repressive dictatorship to now supporting a wannabe dictator for president?
Well, I don't think he's a wannabe dictator in any sense. He's the former president.
In any sense, really? After what he just read you and what has come from this guy's old... Again, how is it that these guys can just treat him like a fucking child? Where, nothing he says matters. It's just him. It's just he pontificates on random things, but he doesn't mean it. He's not a dictator.
United States. The American people had the good fortune to have 4 years of Donald Trump with peace and prosperity. for 4 years, I didn't see anything authoritarian or dictatorial or anything of that kind.
Where were you on January the 6th, 2021?
I was in Washington, D.C.
So your eyes were closed?
Doing coverage. The president has said it, and I've said it, that a riot and violence should be condemned, as was the violence in 2020 that was going on throughout the country. But let me go back to the question quickly about the dictator, because he's taken out of context.
Sides.
First of all, President Trump, unlike scripted politicians, speaks candidly and speaks in language that the people can understand. When he said dictator on day one, joking and laughing, he said that day I'm going to take
He said it multiple times.
I'm going to take executive orders that day. As people have lived Donald Trump for 4 years. Name me one thing that he did in those 4 years that were the earmarks of a dictator.
Well,
none.
We'll go through it. No, we're about to go through it.
Okay, well, go ahead, have at it.
So you say he's joking, even though he said it multiple times. I'm sure if Joe Biden said he was going to be a dictator, you wouldn't see it as a joke. But Trump has also talked about terminating the Constitution, not laughing. He's called for mainstream media outlets to be investigated for treason. He called his political opponents vermin. He even reposted messages on Truth Social, his site recently, calling for a return of public military tribunals with a picture of former President Barack Obama. He behaves like a wannabe dictator, like an autocrat in waiting to me. You wouldn't be okay with Joe Biden posting those images or saying those?
Here's what I'm not okay with, Mehdi. I'm not okay with the President of the United States and the Democratic Party calling a candidate for president that over half of the American people support another Hitler, a fascist, a threat to they're calling him Hitler, a fascist. Those aren't incendiary words. Wow. A threat to democracy. Now, going back to the language.
That's literally just the farthest. I mean, again, I'm going to keep saying this shit. You see what he's doing there? You gave him that ammunition. Good job. Good job. Keep calling people the most inflammatory fucking version of whatever the fuck you think they are, because honestly, this is it. This is it in practice and what happens.
I got to jump in there. You're saying it's bad to call a presidential candidate a fascist?
To call him Hitler, yes.
And to call him a Hitler and a fascist?
Yeah, to call him Hitler, yes.
So he's called Joe Biden a Nazi, and he called Kamala Harris a fascist just 2 weeks ago.
But listen. But your suggestions were at the beginning with your question that somehow Donald Trump was all these things or whatever it is. This is the American.
Do you support a military tribunal for Barack Obama?
The American political climate today, unfortunately,
Mehdi is so good at this.
Is one of
because of your guy.
No, if not because of my guy. This is the rhetoric that people use today.
Okay. Again, he's taking the farthest left, like the farthest left amongst us, and using their words as, oh, look what the left is saying, look what all the Democrats are saying.
10 people say, and he has said it repeatedly
Do you support
about
terminating
people in your line of work. These are so dishonest people. They know I'm joking. They can't. This is the way the American people.
He wasn't joking when he said terminate the Constitution.
He is not going to terminate the Constitution.
But he wasn't joking when he said.
And he's not going to do it.
Let's get some specifics.
By the way, wasn't he president for 4 years?
Yeah. So let's talk about what he did.
Did he suspend the Constitution?
He tried to do unconstitutional things. Should I give you an example?
Yes, give me one.
So former Defense Secretary Mark Esper wrote in his memoir that during the Black Lives Matter demonstrations in 2020 outside the White House after the murder of George Floyd, Trump said to his defense secretary, and I quote, "Can't you just shoot them? Just shoot them in the legs or something." Is that how democratic rulers behave or dictatorial?
Wait, let me ask you this. Mr. Esper, who was fired, wrote these things afterwards. President Trump has said, and people in the room, that was never said. Mr. Esper was fired. Mr. Esper has been discredited by President Trump, and that's why those comments...
He was discredited. How do you say he's discredited by Trump just from listening to Trump's words when you also say don't take him at his word? You guys do this whole fucking cyclical thing. Just admit you want your fucking tax cuts at any cost.
By Donald Trump.
And Republicans that worked in the Republican.
But he was in the room. You were the Republican.
It's disgusting.
Why were you the only one in the room and others in the
and multiple people.
And multiple people in the room.
He was right. They said that Trump said shoot migrants at the border as well.
But listen, when President Trump speaks, he is not a scripted politician.
You make him sound like a toddler, which some people think he is.
No, he's not a toddler.
He should be president, but don't take anything he says seriously.
I never said he did anything seriously. I said that he speaks in a way that's not scripted, and he speaks in a way jokingly sometimes.
Was he joking when he said shoot people in the legs?
Or he might have said it out of frustration, but I don't believe he said it because he has denied he said it, and others in the room have said the same thing.
In American history, in the last 50 years, you know that American politics better than me. Can you tell me when a vice president has refused to endorse the president?
Well, that has not happened.
It happened this time, hasn't it? Your own vice president refuses to endorse you. Your national security advisor says you're unfit to be president. Your defense secretary says you're unfit for the presidency.
All dismissed employees, and unlike the current
president... His former White House chief of staff, John Kelly, called him an idiot. His national security advisor, H.R. McMaster, called him a dope. His economic advisor, Gary Cohn, said he's dumb as shit. These are the people who worked closely with him.
And all of them.
They don't like him. They don't rate him.
Yeah, usually people who are fired,
they said this stuff before they were fired in government. Actually, John Kelly said it to the staff in the White House. We're working for India, he said. We're in crazy town.
What crazy town? Listen, the record, crazy town speaks for 4 years of prosperity, low unemployment, and peace. That's what it speaks to. That's what the American people had under this terrible person that they're going to reelect.
So you don't think he's...
We actually have record low unemployment right now. Our economy is doing quite well. We had a overperforming stock market this week that hit record highs again. So I love how you can apply that for Donald Trump, but you can't do the same for the Democrats. You can, but we have to not take Donald Trump at his word, guys, because you're just not supposed to believe him.
An unserious figure who says absurd, outrageous things.
No, I do not.
Because you said that in 2015. Those are your words. You called him an unserious figure who says absurd.
It's funny. This guy who, I mean, by all means, he presents himself better than Trump. He is more articulate than Trump. Still can't sell the package that is Donald Trump.
Absurd and outrageous.
I did say those words, as I was working.
You don't believe them anymore?
No, I was working for another Republican at the time. That's just the nature of politics. No, it's true. It's true. It's true.
So nothing you say should be trusted at all.
So
it's true.
Look at this entire room of fucking people just automatically think that this guy's a piece of shit who just lies and spins anything just to come out favorably.
So
is that the nature of politics? Okay, buddy.
Now you're working for Donald Trump. Should we take anything seriously you say tonight?
Yeah.
Yes, the Republican nominee today, after his record of 4 years, I was wrong, he was right.
Okay. I want to bring in our panel who are listening patiently here. I'm joined by Danielle Moody, host of the Woke AF podcast. Danielle, Adolfo has been saying that Trump, this is just language, it's unscripted. Of course, he's not a threat to democracy. He's already been president once. What do we got to worry about?
I'm absolutely worried about American democracy with a man that says that he wants to be a dictator on day one, a man that when he was president of the United States separated children from their parents at the border, children who have still yet to be reunited with their families, right? Put them in camps and then took them to court, right? To say that we didn't need to provide them with hygiene, like toothpaste and soap. He took them before a 3-panel judges. That's not what a president that believes in democracy does.
Let's bring in Errol Moorcoach, who is a political strategist, a spokesperson for Republicans overseas in the UK. Errol, if Harris wins in November, Kamala Harris wins, which a lot of polls show she may be on course to, we know Trump won't respect the result. He's told us he won't. Do you expect him to incite another insurrection?
He would concede the election the same way he conceded the election the first time. If he hadn't conceded the election, if he hadn't conceded the election and he had actually played those cards to the end, he'd be in prison right now.
You realize he's never conceded the election?
Well, by not, creating some sort of militia and storming the Capitol, which he didn't do. There isn't any. Because you think.
I love how many people are just like.
Because if it was a militia,
do you guys really just huff your own farts and just go, "This is flowers"?
Very few people, but the majority of people were people there without weapons.
Let's bring in Reed Galen, who is the co-founder of the Lincoln Project. It's a group of former Republican strategists who are opposed to Donald Trump. What do you make of what you've heard so far, Reed?
I think it is a modern interpretation of the Republican Party, which is all built on a pile of everything that this gentleman is saying is, in fact, inaccurate at best. I worked for Senator McCain, too, right? There's a reason why John McCain wanted nothing to do with this man. And it wasn't because he insulted him. It wasn't because he said he liked people who weren't captured. It's because the man served 7.5 years in a tiger cage for what he believed in when he could have been released because of who his father was, and he chose not to be. Donald Trump is not 4 years of peace and prosperity. It was 4 years of death and economic destruction.
Can respond to that?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, this is the view that's been expressed here of those who don't want to debate the issues are attacking the candidate. The policies that President Trump stands for are the policies the vast majority of Republicans in the United States, which is 87%. This gentleman represents a tiny faction of the Republican Party who are really Republicans in name only.
No one's disputing popularity. It's not a show about polls.
It's a show about democracy.
Let me ask you this. Let's talk about immigration, big issue. You want to talk about policy and subjects.
He's getting frustrated.
You yourself, I believe, entered the country back in 1961 as a political refugee as a child with your parents from Cuba. You benefited from American law, international humanitarian law, refugee protection, asylum laws. You were not denied the right to asylum. You were not separated from your parents at the border.
He should have been.
Why do you support
you know what? And he should have been.
Today,
he needs to be part of that fucking mass deportation. Guys like him.
Who supports doing that to today's
fucking sick of this shit.
From Latin America.
These fucking pick-me's. These people that are just like, oh, I did it the right way. I don't want the ones who do it the wrong way. Fuckers.
Because that's just an inaccurate statement. Anyone coming from countries of repression, such as Cuba, North Korea, Venezuela, to many extent, are allowed the same protections and the same rights that I did, and that has never.
No, look at the way they're treating the fucking Haitians.
That's
President,
false.
no, that's President Trump has never.
You're not telling the truth.
No, I am telling
you know
the
what
truth.
Title 42
no,
is?
I do know what Title 42 is.
Can you explain to our audience what Title 42
but that's
does?
nothing to do with Title 42.
course it does.
You were asking about political asylum.
That's what Title 42 does. It doesn't allow you to make a claim.
You can make a claim for political
That's not-
asylum.
no, you cannot.
Yes, you can. Under President Trump, 50,000 Cubans came into the United States that were
Title
processed.
42 blocks you from taking asylum. Trump has said he does not want to have asylum. He says asylum seekers are hoaxers. Stephen Miller has said he doesn't want any refugees. They have a refugee cap, by the way, under the Trump presidency of 15,000. It's 125,000 today under Joe Biden. So people are benefiting today. Your guy is going to stop the future 6-year-old Adolfo Franco.
That's not true.
It literally is what they're proposing.
Yeah.
Have you read your policies?
I have read the policies.
What does Title 42 do? Because you're dodging this.
But no.
You are. What does Title 42 do? The audience knows.
No.
It's a
God,
God,
he's
UK, they're not
good.
familiar. Explain to them what Title 42 does.
Listen, but Title 42 does is allow people to claim political asylum.
No, it doesn't.
Well, it does.
literally does not.
It does.
It's the opposite.
No.
Title 42 said you cannot come into the country because there's a health crisis. You cannot claim
yes,
asylum.
no, that's correct.
You must leave immediately, and you don't. Hold on, let me finish. You don't get to make a claim. The future Adolfo Franco on the Title 42 does not get to
in
make
a health crisis.
And Trump's bringing it back. Let's talk about another policy. Let's see if you're familiar with this one. Trump says he's going to target 15, maybe 20 million undocumented migrants. He's promised to carry out the largest domestic deportation in American history. If he carries this out, nearly 4.5 million American children will be partially or wholly orphaned. Not only is that utterly inhumane and unfair, but you yourself have said in the past that a mass deportation plan is not viable, it's not serious. Your words, unless you want to disown those as well.
Well, here's the difference. I don't disown those, but I have different words today for this reason. We have 10.8 million people. We have a crisis. The former Secretary of Homeland Security under President Obama said that if we had 1,000 people entering illegal in the country, it would be a crisis. We have today 4,350 entering illegal in the country. So we have a situation in the country that we have out of control. 54% of the American people favor a national massive
I already told you I'm not playing the polling.
You're not,
yet.
well, you're not
no,
playing
because I want to
the
know how it works. Donald Trump at his peak, actually Barack Obama deported more people than Trump. Barack Obama at his peak deported around 400, 500,000 people a year. Trump deported, I think, 250,000 at his peak. How on earth are you going to deport 4 million people a year without mass violence and catching anyone brown on the street?
It isn't catching people brown.
It is literally going door to door. That's what Stephen Miller has talked about.
It is going and seeing who is in the country legally.
With the military, using the military?
I have no plan has been rolled out in terms of the military. But
Stephen Miller has talked about using the military. Donald Trump has talked about using the military.
Are you concerned about the 235,000 children this administration can't account for that came into the country under the Harris-Bidden administration?
Yeah, because unlike you, I'm consistent in my criticism. I don't change depending on who the candidate is. I'm critical of Biden for what Biden does, and I'm saying Trump is going to come in and try and deport 14 million people. A, it can't be done, as you yourself have said. B, it's a horrendous human right.
It would decimate the U.S. economy. Why is this something that isn't brought up more? For how much the American people prioritize the American economy, specifically in an election year, why the fuck do we not bring that part up?
It is a process that will certainly, as you mentioned, President Obama being a deporter-in-chief, deportations will go up significantly to President Trump and will be a deterrent for border security. There is no question we need that. It will be congressional oversight and involvement in it. In the United States, there will be a process. And that process, in terms of deportation, which the majority of the American people
You don't think there are
support, will be
racist
a
goals
process.
behind this?
No, I think it's a security
So when
situation.
Trump says
we have a
immigrants-
situation, we have 2,000% increase in Chinese immigrants that are 18 to 22-year-old males coming to the country. We have no idea who they are.
Adolfo, when he says immigrants are poisoning the blood of the country, are you okay with that language as a Cuban immigrant? That is the language, I should point out, that Adolf Hitler used in Mein Kampf, the blood poisoning of the country. He had dinner with a Holocaust denier at Mar-a-Lago. Are you okay with that?
It's not a question of being okay or not with these things. It's a question of...
Mehdi is applying the same tactic that, Mohammed did on Pierce Morgan.
What the president's
Mohammed Hijab.
message is ultimately is...
What was the message? The Holocaust didn't happen.
No, he didn't say the Holocaust didn't happen.
Nick Fuentes did. He was invited to dinner.
And did President Trump say that?
He had Kanye West, now known as Ye, an anti-Semite, and Nick Fuentes, a white nationalist Holocaust denier, at his home in November 2022 for Thanksgiving, dinner in Mar-a-Lago. Any other person did that, they would be hounded out of the race and people like yourself would condemn them. But with Trump, you give him a pass.
No, for this reason. President Trump, you're trying to put President Trump, who has been in his entire career a person that's been an eccentric individual, no question about it, not a politician, a person that has not ever measured with the political consequences.
What does that got to do with hosting a Holocaust denier and quoting Hitler?
Yeah, what does that have to do with anything that he says and does? Again, this idea of don't ever hold Trump to account for anything he does. Don't hold him to any account for anything he says. He's just Trump. That's just Trump. This is fucked up, guys. This is like we are being gaslit by these motherfuckers. I'm not even kidding anymore. Like, this is sick because even the media, the mainstream media especially, They play into this, but I'm talking like independent media, myself even. We all play the game. We all are just like, oh, I'm out. Look what he said today. Oh, here's the free publicity. Blah, blah, blah. When in reality, we need to start just taking him for what he says at face value and just go, oh my God, this man's a child. We would have not let him get near as far as he did in the first presidential election.
And I think
Dude,
the statement for the campaign
I still can't believe that motherfucker was our president.
later is that we're unaware of it. If you remember what
They were unaware of who Kanye West
no,
is.
I don't know. Kanye West is a supporter, not Nick Fuentes.
Kanye West has said, I'm going to go DESCON 3 on the Jews.
Well,
He said that weeks before he turned up at Trump's house.
Yeah.
Do you support that?
I don't support that. You know, this is the type of questioning that you engage in when the issues are being avoided.
Issue is anti-Semitism. The issue is racism. The issue is Holocaust denial.
Anti-Semitism. Was he quoting Adolf Hitler? You're a journalist. Did he say, let me quote Adolf Hitler? You're going to be a coincidence in use of words and terminology?
So why did he say it again after he was told it was Hitler?
Because he said the point is
No, you just said it was a coincidence, Adolfo. He said it again after he was told it was Hitler's line.
These words are not Hitler's words anymore than when they said "Make America Great" was some type of fascist speech or something until they
poisoning. Adolfo, you're an immigrant to America. I'm an immigrant to America. He's saying we're poisoning the blood. Have some self-respect, Adolfo.
No. What he was saying about this is we have to have immigration that is orderly. That
poisoning the blood. That is white nationalist
orderly.
rhetoric.
Because he's saying that when so many people are coming into the country without any order,
they're poisoning the blood.
Well, they're changing the nature of the society in an unorderly way.
Interesting concession. Let's go to the panel at this moment.
He knows he's losing so hard. It's only cool when I'm here.
Daniel Moody, what do you make of the argument from people who say Donald Trump's not a racist? People are seeing things that aren't there.
I mean, you don't have to wear a white hood and say that you're part of the Ku Klux Klan to be
Right.
racist. I know for myself that when I have people over for dinner, I know their backgrounds. Nick Fuentes has a very popular show on right-wing television where he spouts all types of white supremacist, misogynistic, toxic, disgusting anti-Semitic language. So if Donald Trump doesn't associate or believe in the same things, then why would you have somebody over for dinner? You treat Donald Trump like he's a toddler. He's eccentric. He doesn't know what he says. Oh my goodness.
But also give him nuclear weapons.
Right, and also also give him nuclear weapons, and he's totally fine.
Let me bring in Reed Galen. Reed, in May, the Senate voted to kill an immigration bill that was crafted by Democrats and Republicans. One of the most right-wing Republicans, James Langford of Oklahoma. Biden said he would sign it. Kamala Harris said she would sign the bill. It's not a bill I like, too right-wing for me. But do Republicans really care about border security if Donald Trump tells them to kill the bill, which is what he told them to do?
No, because if they did, they would have passed the bill. President Biden would have signed it. They killed it at Trump's request. Those 86% of politicians you said support Trump killed it because they knew it would take the issue off the table for Trump. Because, as you said, it was Republican crafted.
Yep.
James Langford, this is not a rhino. Oklahoma is not sort of red. It is as red as it comes
he was
in
pretty
the
upset
United
about
States.
It. Adolfo, you were saying pro-immigrant stuff in 2015 and attacking Trump for not being pro-immigrant. You just asked for border security. Trump killed the border security bill.
The so-called border security bill would have permitted, it was a bad bill, up to 5 million people before an emergency would be declared. Up to 5 million people, could enter our country illegally. It was at best.
No, they actually would have had a pathway to citizenship, thus not making them illegal.
A Band-Aid.
Or thus making them not illegal.
Even the border.
But that's not why Trump killed it. He killed it because he didn't want to give Democrats a win.
Come on! Fuck off! I'm so sick of this shit!
Bad bill, whether you like it or not.
Well, let's bring up another immigration story.
No! It is well fucking known that he wanted it dead because he didn't want them to have an issue to run on. He said it himself! His exact fucking words!
Story that's going on. Errol, let me bring you in here. In recent weeks, Trump and his running mate J.D. Vance have repeatedly claimed that immigrants in Springfield, Ohio have stolen and eaten people's pets. A baseless, some would say racist accusation that's been debunked by Ohio's Republican governor.
Sorry, this is literally after 10 years of hearing his bullshit. I'm fucking tired of cocksuckers like this coming out and standing up for him and play it like they're literally the surrogates. And again, notice how he can't answer anything past, he's just Donald Trump. That's what you're supposed to expect.
Springfield's Republican mayor and Springfield's Republican city manager.
Fuck.
And yet we checked, Errol, and you retweeted this nonsense about Haitian migrants eating cats and dogs in Springfield. You're smiling, but it's a pretty dangerous racist claim. Why were you retweeting baseless claims?
It's certainly
This guy looks like he's about to bloat out of his suit.
not racist, and our constituents on the ground there have reported that.
They haven't.
No, they have. They haven't.
Not
Not to the city manager, whoever this is, but there are videos.
Who did they report it to?
To the
internet?
To the internet. Yes. Imagine that.
To the
A place where
internet.
people share their opinions.
So they go to Facebook. Yes. Yeah. So you're telling me that it is exactly what you say it was.
And it's
Imagine believing everything you read on the internet.
I'm not even sure if this guy has an accent, but fuck him.
I am pointing out that the problems in Springfield and all of these small towns, by the way,
They're on a
where
problem
the jobs were gutted from that area,
And they begged immigrants to
and they
come.
brought immigrants in there, it has certainly created a problem demographically for
You know
the
what's
local
created, Errol, and I'm going to bring Adolfo in here? 30 bomb threats against Springfield after Vance and Trump spoke out. The mayor, the Republican mayor, blamed it on Trump. Republicans are saying, please stop this.
The city of Springfield.
That lady's feeling what I am, where she's just like, this is so good because when you face them, when you put the facts in their face, they can't go anywhere but and start sweating.
Population because of illegal immigration.
It wasn't illegal. They came there legally.
Oh,
the TPS is a legal scheme.
Some were legal and some were.
No, it was a legal scheme. You cannot lie, Adolfo. I won't allow that on this show. TPS is a legal scheme.
They are. And there are many illegal.
And even if they were illegal, do you support bomb threats against them?
I don't support bomb threats.
Donald Trump didn't condemn them.
Now, what were the actual words that President Trump used that said?
He stood on stage, looked at millions of people, and lied and said they're eating cats and dogs.
These
That's
were,
a lie.
And you asked about where the lies came. If you watched Fox News, you can see some of the people.
Thank God I don't.
I just saw people who gave these reports. Whether these should have been elevated to a national debate over this, maybe that is not what should have taken place.
So maybe you should.
Oh, you mean when they brought up the lady that was like, I shared a Facebook post that went viral based on me sharing it, even though it wasn't my post? I don't know where it came from.
Talk to your boss about inciting violence. We will have to take a break there, and we will come back to talk about Trump himself and his character for office. Lots to discuss. Patient audience here in London's Conway Hall. Join us after the break for the part 2 of Head to Head. Welcome back to Head on.
Sorry, I more than likely one of these days will learn not to do all the pausing and actually do all of my thoughts in like the middle there. But also, I can't hold back when I'm listening to assholes that are just blatantly so full of shit.
Al Jazeera English. My guest today is a spokesperson for the Trump-Vance 2024 GOP presidential campaign and a former advisor to the late Senator John McCain. Adolfo Franco, thank you for joining us on the show. We talked about
I'm pretty
Trump
sure
and
he
democracy,
denounced
Trump and immigration in part 1 of the show. I want to start this half of the show by talking about Trump himself and fitness for office, because at 78 years old, your boss, Donald J. Trump, is now the oldest person to ever run for president of the United States. And given you, Adolfo, said over the summer that age could be a deciding factor in the election, you said, and given you said that Biden wasn't up to the job.
Correct.
Why on earth is such an old man, confused man still on the Republican presidential ticket?
Well, I think the only confused man was Joe Biden. Is this reason? Age, what is the expression? Is a number. And it is an important number. In the case of...
Yeah, you pointed that out in the case of Joe Biden.
Sadly, of our current president, he is much older than his years, and physically and mentally. In the case of Donald Trump, anyone seen him go on for a long period of time and any speech and the level of energy, he is much younger than his, if you've met him in person, much younger than his years. So President Trump at 78 has the energy and the intellect and the capacity
Of a 5-year-old?
someone much, much younger than he is. The current president, it would have been a factor, and it was a factor when he exited the race, and that is the difference.
I mean, there's a clear double standard going on here, which is Joe Biden is forced to exit the race because he says he was clearly, not in a good shape in that debate with Donald Trump. He, messed up words, messed up people's names. Donald Trump has serious cognitive mental health memory issues. He's perpetually confused and incoherent. He confused Nikki Haley with Nancy Pelosi. He confused Barack Obama with Joe Biden. He confused recently in the debate Virginia with West Virginia. He called Tim Cook Tim Apple. He rants and raves about shark attacks and Hannibal Lecter. He even madly claimed that the photos of crowds at Kamala Harris rallies are AI generated. We all know, I know, everyone here knows he sounds nuts. So why would you entrust him with nuclear weapons again?
And with regard to the which happens to everyone, the misuse of names and so forth, particularly a person who does not use a script or goes off script and speaks freely, that's going to happen on any occasion. There's no question about that. The problems that President Biden had were completely different. Well, because he is a cognitively challenged individual.
So is Trump.
No, he is
Trump's
not.
the guy, if he sat next to you on the underground, you would move away. He's ranting and raving. You know that, Adolfo. Do you believe the photos at Kamala Harris's rally were AI generated?
I don't know if they're AI generated or
That's
not.
what Donald Trump said.
I have no idea. President Trump has said he will take a cognitive test, has taken.
Nope. No, he actually said he's not going to release his medical records. Nope.
Oh, yes. Man, person, camera.
No, he refuses to, and he's just like, I've already done it. I've already done it.
And President Biden refused to take a cognitive test.
Adolfo, you're a smart man. I don't understand how you can support a candidate who thinks wind turbines cause cancer, thinks you can stop a hurricane with a nuclear weapon, thinks you need ID to buy a box of cereal, thinks you can buy Greenland from Denmark, thinks England and the UK are the same thing, thinks you can beat COVID by putting disinfectant in your arms, thinks a stealth fighter jet is literally invisible, and talks about toilet flush water pressure in every one of his rallies. He's nuts.
If you went all these statements and put them in the context of what they were saying.
What is the context for saying
in the context of
that you can buy Greenland from Denmark?
And when the context of what they were saying, or people who make these mistakes frequently in the United States, unfortunately.
Your boss?
Anyone.
No. Hold him to the fucking higher standard that you would any other presidential candidate. This is so messed up, and honestly, I might not be able to finish this. This guy sucks.
But when you look this in the entire of its context, all of these statements, these are not things that reflect in any shape, way, or form his ability or capacity to be president or fitness to be president of the United States.
Let's bring in our panel here. Reed Galen from the Lincoln Project is here, Republican strategist, anti-Trump. You are sitting in the United Kingdom. The world laughs at Donald Trump. Adolfo can deny it. We've all seen it. He got literally laughed at the UN General Assembly. Why do Republican voters not see that?
Well, may I just go back to the AI thing for a moment?
Please.
Because we actually last December made an ad, and we like to shoot our ads right into Mar-a-Lago so he'll see them, where we lace together all the things you talk about. And you know what he did to us? He accused us of AI. It wasn't AI. It was all stuff he'd said. And I think we have to get over this idea of, he just says this stuff freely. Either take him seriously or literally or both.
Yep.
These are the things he says.
Yep.
I think that the reason why the rest of the world laughs at him is because they cannot believe that the United States of America has this buffoon representing what is supposed to be the world's leading democracy. It's why all of our NATO allies are desperate for the guy to lose. And let me just say, if I might in closing, that you are exactly showing why the Trump campaign is terrified. The entire campaign was predicated on Joe Biden, and now you don't have him. But you want to argue about Joe Biden's inability to campaign or to govern because you know your own guy's in worse shape.
But let me answer it this way.
Please do.
That's not true. Here's why, and you know this, why, whether it's Biden or Harris, which is not, unfortunately, what's being discussed in this program. We're talking about inflation. We're talking about 76% of the American people say the country's moving in the wrong direction under this president. We're talking about gasoline prices being 46% higher, food prices being 21% higher, household income declining 3.4% under this administration. Now, that's the reality. And independents say 60%. That's why we were running against Biden or Harris.
Yeah, but your guy can't get past 45% electorally. That's how much of the country doesn't
we're throwing in numbers. Hold on, Adolfo, you like polls so much. CBS YouGov poll from September. Big majority, 64 to 68% of voters in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, the key swing states, say Kamala Harris has the mental and cognitive health to serve as president. Only a minority of voters say the same for Trump. A majority of Americans in swing states do not think your guy has the mental cognitive health to be president. You love citing polls. What do you want to say about that one?
I'll cite the polls right back.
Go on.
And every one of these states, either the president or Mrs. Harris is ahead within the margin of error.
That's not what I said. I said they don't think your guy has cognitive mental health to be president.
But if the majority of people in those states are voting for him,
he's literally holding the chair.
Maybe they're blind partisans. Let us bring in Errol Moorcoach, who is with the Republicans overseas here in the UK. As a proud Republican, a patriot who loves your country, how did you feel when you saw the UN General Assembly literally laugh at Donald Trump as he was speaking? How did you feel when you saw that video of Trudeau and Macron and Boris Johnson and the Dutch Prime Minister laughing at Trump behind his back when they didn't know the mics were up? Did that embarrass you?
No, I was proud of my president. I was proud that my president is
What about your country?
Proud of my country, absolutely. I'm an immigrant to America myself, like you gentlemen.
Did you poison the blood of the country as well?
No, unfortunately I did not. But no, the situation. About the world laughing at Trump, those are the people who our voting bloc doesn't respect. What you're missing here is Donald Trump is the outsider candidate. These people are all, in our view, a uniparty, global uniparty. So the fact that those people were laughing at us, that's exactly the response.
Boris Johnson is one of his closest allies.
Boris Johnson isn't really a serious person.
I agree, and nor is Donald Trump.
Yeah, nor is Donald Trump.
Danielle Moody. Danielle, does the American public...
It's so weird how they can see that in anybody else but this guy. Cult? I mean, there's a reason we call it the cult. That's the one that's not fucking hyperbolic. That fits.
Understand what Donald Trump is saying? Do they respect Donald Trump? We talked about the polling. How do you answer that question?
I mean, what I will say is that I was very happy at how high the ratings were for the debate, because 60 million people who don't follow politics in the way that many people do in this room, or the way that you and I do, or people on this panel, 60 million people got to see Donald Trump without any of the stain washing, got to see him yell out.
Yeah, and when he did the cats and dogs thing, that one I really do think put him under. I think that's where when people go to the polls, that's what they're going to remember.
They're eating cats and dogs. Got to have him talk about the crowd size and that his rally sizes are so big. Got to actually unedited, right, hear Donald Trump with his own mouth. The fact that you can sit up there and have a list of the things that Donald Trump has said read to you, and if Mehdi had changed the name and said, here, Adolfo, here are things that Joe Biden had said, you would have gone off about how Joe Biden needed to step aside and this is why he's cognitively delayed. Here's the thing, the difference between why Joe Biden left the race versus why your man will never leave the race, or the stage for that matter, until the American people drag him off of it in a few days. So the reality is that Joe Biden walked away because he believes in America. America, because he wants democracy to succeed, because he wants democracy and the people to have something moving forward. And he wasn't going to stand in the way of that. He wasn't going to allow his ego of needing the power of the presidency to stand between the people and possibly losing democracy. That's why he got out of the race.
I have to respond to that. So this man who, the president, who in July said, that he would never leave the race, he decided in July, with just unprecedented, to leave the presidential race just because of his ego wasn't in the way. Then why didn't he decide it a year ago or a year and a half ago? What prompted this change? You know why he left the race, because the American people came to the conclusion he wasn't physically and mentally fit to be president.
And they come to the same conclusion with your guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Switched out.
Adolfo, I just quoted a poll. They came to the same conclusion your guy. They say he's not fit for office.
That is not
I literally
true.
just read the numbers.
That is not true.
Do you want me to read the poll again?
Why did he leave the race?
Do you want me to read the poll to you?
Why did he leave the race in July?
Did you want me to read the poll?
Why did he leave the race in July?
I don't
care.
This is not an interview about Joe Biden. I know you wish it was. And you can't defend your guy.
Yes, I can. Then the woman running for president has never received one vote.
Kamala Harris, the vice president of the United States.
Mrs. Harris.
That's who. It's not Mrs. Harris. It's not Mrs. Harris. It's Madam Vice President.
She has not received one vote from anybody for president.
You're right, because I guess the vice president of the United States, who was on the ticket in 2020, didn't get elected by 81 million Americans.
She didn't get the nomination.
Oh, that's right. Oh, okay.
Let's open it up to the audience, because this isn't really going anywhere. So let's see what the audience have to say about it. Let's go to, raise your hands here, gentlemen here in the second row, and then we'll go to the gentleman in the third row. Okay, here. Yes, in the tie. Do you want to wait for a microphone to come to you?
Okay, sir.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to ask a quick question about Project 2025, which we haven't been able to talk about very much. A lot of people see Donald Trump's denial of having anything to do with Project 2025 as just another lie on his road to an authoritarian type of government. Could you give any assurances of anything he would do to try to fortify democracy in the institutions that we've got? The Project 2025, as you know, was written by hundreds of his advisors and is very likely to be put in place.
Yeah, he's trying to disown this autocratic plan for America, even though his people wrote it.
The Heritage, his people. These are all people who are not part of the campaign.
All people who work for him.
The authors of the as you know, Project 25 are the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation has said, as a 501c3, which is a legal status they have in the United States, that they can coordinate or work with the campaign. So there has been no coordination with the campaign or with Trump officials that are currently associated with President Trump. Now, they have said President Trump has never, according to the Heritage Foundation, had anything to do with Project 2025.
That's a lie.
No, that's not a lie.
It is a lie. He literally went to the Heritage Foundation and said, this is a great group. They're going to lay the groundwork, detailed plans for exactly what our movement will do.
Yes,
so
but that's not Project 2025. They've done a lot of policy statements, and he's embraced many of the policy statements of the Heritage Foundation, but not Project 2025.
His people wrote it.
It is a 958-page document, if you go through it. Many of the things in Project 2025, in my opinion, are very, very good and solid. I don't agree with all of them. They are. They're very good. President Trump has not read that document nor endorsed that document, and there are legal impediments to do so. So this has been a farce over and over, a lie told by the Harris campaign.
Let's go back to our audience. Gentleman here in the front.
So my question is, there is a woman called Laura Loomer who has been traveling with Donald Trump to all his recent events and has been advising him. She calls herself a proud Islamophobe, says Muslims like me should be banned from running for office. And the other week said that if Kamala Harris wins, the White House will smell like curry. Donald Trump calls her great and a very special person. How can you defend that?
I don't defend those comments. I don't.
Why was she on Donald Trump's plane?
I have no idea. I'm serious. I don't know her.
Do you condemn Donald Trump for praising a woman like that?
No, I won't condemn President Trump because I don't know what President Trump's context of what he said it and how he said it. But I don't subscribe to those.
So you don't.
He doesn't know the context in which Donald Trump does anything bad, guys. Like, this man is the king of the spin, except he's not good at it. So he's the king of the fucking swirl.
Anything to answer for having an Islamophobe and a white nationalist on his flight with him, sitting with him at debates, advising him, praising her, taking photos.
I don't know.
Here's the thing about spinning: you tend to spiral.
Her statements.
The White House will smell like curry if Kamala Harris wins. Do you support that?
No, I don't support that type of.
Why has Donald Trump not condemned it?
I don't know if President Trump has condemned it.
He has not. Why has he not?
Has he been asked that question
directly? Yes,
directly?
he was asked about Laura Loomer. He dodged it. That's what he does.
He has answered that question
directly.
He dodged
the question.
He did not answer that question directly. That's my answer to it.
When Barack Obama had a pastor who had said some horrible things 20 years previously when Barack Obama wasn't even in the church, he had to give a speech disowning that pastor. Why does your guy get graded on a curve? He gets to hang out with racists, Holocaust deniers, Islamophobes, and people like you say, it's fine.
No, I don't think he hangs out with these people.
She literally hangs out with them. She comes to the golf club.
I don't know if she hangs out.
You should pay attention more to what your candidate is up to.
I do pay attention to these things.
It's willful blindness, I suspect. See no evil, hear no evil. All right. Gentleman here in the glass has been waiting a while.
Adolfo, hi, this is Chris Sabatini. Clearly, we're seeing a malign axis, if you will, of evil, to quote your former boss, George W. Bush. We see it most in the region that you and I both work on, Venezuela, where the elections were endorsed, stolen elections were endorsed by China, Russia, and North Korea. But yet we have a president who has praised Vladimir Putin. We have a president that's even praised Xi Jinping in Trump. We have a president who has met repeatedly with Kim Jong-un. How do you square those things? You're a man who cares about the international order and human rights. Okay. How do you square that?
I do, in this regard. Number one is, what he has talked about is engagement. For example, with respect to Putin and what's happening in Ukraine, that he wants a resolution to the war. Obviously, under his administration, there was not an invasion of Ukraine, which happened under Obama and happened under Biden. So I think he has delivered very, very strong messages. As President Trump has said, even when our policy, as you know, with respect to Afghanistan beforehand, he said I delivered very strong messages to the Taliban in the period of 2 years. Not one American life was lost in that period of time. So the engagement...
Hold on.
That's bullshit. That's complete horseshit. There were multiple times that soldiers lost their lives under Trump. What the fuck are you talking
with
about?
The specific praise of the dictators he mentioned.
I don't think
Are you a fan of Kim like he is?
No, I'm not a fan of Kim.
Why is he a fan of Kim?
He's a fan of engagement, and he's not a fan of President Xi. I can assure you, I might.
He called him my friend Xi Jinping. He said he's doing a great job on the pandemic. That's what he said at the time.
What he was trying to do was just to try to bring about in the Korean Peninsula some degree of stability and negotiation
by praising the world's worst tyrant.
To speak with him and
no, that's not what he did. He praised him.
To speak with him and engage with him.
He said he sent me love letters, and we fell in love.
Yeah, and
if Joe Biden had said he'd fallen in love with Kim, you would have gone nuts.
Well, I don't think President Biden.
Are you in love with Kim?
No, I don't love Kim.
Why does Trump say?
Because he loves the engagement he has with him.
That's not what he said, though. Let's go back to the audience here. This lady here in the second row.
Yes. So I know that this weekend Trump posted on his Truth Social page that he would be a great president for women in America. However, it was Trump's decision to appoint conservative justices to the Supreme Court with the specific intention of overturning Roe v. Wade, which was a landmark case for women's rights. Recently, in my home state of Georgia, there have been a number of cases that have come out about women dying of preventable causes due to complications during pregnancy because doctors cannot perform the necessary procedures needed to save their lives because of our strict 6-week abortion ban, which is enabled and supported by Donald Trump and the Republican Party. If that is the case, and that is supported by Donald Trump, how is it that you can defend Donald Trump saying that he will be a great president for women? And additionally, when Project 2025 advocates for a nationwide registry of pregnancies to prevent abortions, how can women living under a potential Trump campaign feel at ease about their reproductive rights and their civil liberties?
Good question.
Well,
Great question.
I respect your views, but as you well know, being an American, that there are millions of American women who are pro-life and anti-abortion, as you well know.
Minority.
Millions. And what
you are very, very bad at this.
Roe v. Wade does, and what President Trump has referred to, and that's a decision of the Supreme Court, is that every state or localities decide what the abortion restrictions should be by state. That's what's being decided here. The difference is this, which isn't Mrs. Harris has never really answered, is, and including the debate, do you advocate for any restrictions on abortion, which of course the majority of American people do want some restrictions, but the answer has been no answer. But the answer is this: President Trump's position is the
And how do you feel about women dying in Georgia?
Every single Republican nominee for president.
Adolfo, how do you feel about women dying in Georgia?
I don't like women dying anywhere, but
they're dying because of this change. Republican just did a story about a woman, Amber Thurman, in Georgia. Amber Nicole Thurman suffered a grave infection. She died. She didn't need to die.
Well,
she died because of the rule.
I don't know where she was in the spectrum, because Roe v. Wade itself had restrictions on abortion, and now the Democrats are advocating no restrictions on abortion.
And do you support the nationwide registry she mentioned, by the way? Do you support J.D. Vance saying the cops should follow women from one state to another?
That has never been the position of President Trump. President Trump has never advocated.
President Trump actually said we should punish women.
No, President Trump never advocated for
He said that to your friend Chris Matthews on TV. Let's go back. Gentleman here in the blue jacket.
Chris Soprano with Republicans Overseas, UK, a Republican Party supporter. That when I think of all what's happening tonight, there is an obsession with what people have said. And if you look back to the 2016 election, it was very evident people care about what affects them and not what offends them with the words. So what affected them were the policies that Americans were better off during the Trump administration than they were the Biden administration. And I'll give you a softball here. Can you name some of the statistics and policies that Trump did during his term that were superior to what the Biden administration?
When President Trump left office, inflation in the country is running at 1.6%.
That's not a policy.
That's the salient question.
That's not a fucking policy. That is a inherited economy that you guys just pushed.
It's happening.
I mean, I'll give credit where credit's due, but again, if you guys didn't already inherit that good economy, then what? What's the fucking policy?
This administration ratcheted up to 9%, the highest in our country.
And no, the highest it got to was 7.1% for the American populace. But keep spouting that 9%.
40 years. Now they're claiming victory because inflation is lower after prices are higher. So gasoline prices, inflation.
Well, wait a minute. By his logic, 9%, it's down to 2.9%. So in that time, they've actually brought inflation down from 9% to 2.9%. That's fucking insane. Maybe does that mean, are you going to give them credit for that too? Oh, wait.
The economy.
Well, not the economy. The economy was in a ditch.
No.
Unemployment was in the millions. You're forgetting COVID.
We had the lowest unemployment at that time for minorities in the United States.
It's now lower.
Yes, it's true.
It's now lower, by the way. It is now lower. That is a fact.
But I want to bring in Obama and everybody
I want to bring
else.
in Reed briefly. Just deal with it. It's an interesting point gentleman made that Americans don't care about words, they care about actions. What's your response to that as a critic of Trump on the right?
Well, I think we shouldn't take everything as if it occurs in a vacuum. 2016 was a very different election. We're in a very different place now. I think that the United States and its people have seen almost a decade of Trump. It's amazing. I'll be clear. It's amazing to me that the race is this close. It is. I wish it wasn't, but it is. But I would say this. I think you made an excellent point. On debate night, 67 million Americans got to see what they were in for, right? There are some people. Look, I got chased in Pennsylvania last weekend by a MAGA supporter, a drunken MAGA supporter who said, if I ever come back, he'll get his shotgun, right? That is not what I hope for America. Now, what I would say is this, is if you want to take him literally and not seriously, or vice versa, that's the idea. From my perspective, that's not big R Republican politics, and it's not small d Democratic politics.
All right, unfortunately, so many more people want to come in. We're out of time, and I apologize to the patient audience. Adolfo, last question from me. You've been in the Republican Party a very long time. Today, it is no longer the party of Reagan or even Bush, who you served under. Don Jr. has been bragging that the Republican Party is now wholly MAGA. It's been taken over. He and his brother gave speeches at the convention. His sister and brother-in-law worked in the last administration. Eric's wife, Lara Trump, who has zero experience, was made head of the Republican National Committee. It's just a family affair now, isn't it? It's the cult of Trump. It's the kind of thing that Republicans would say a third world banana republic is doing. And I just wonder, how are you okay being in a party like this? Do you not worry about your own reputation just kind of, going out and speaking for the Trump family?
Well, first of all, let me tell you, when you don't like comparisons, the First Lady of the United States speaking first time and chairing a meeting of the cabinet in September, it is remarkable to me to have those comparisons, to have family members who, in the case of Laura Trump, is a co-chair involved in the campaign.
What was her qualification to be co-chair of the Republican National Committee?
She co-chair of whatever. She knows the president. She knows the policy. And it's absolutely, this isn't a family affair. No one has ever accused the Trump children of.
He's saying this shit with a straight face, you guys. Holy shit. Oh my God. If you ever wonder how somebody can lie to you, just like bold-faced lie to you and just put on a face, here it is right here.
Being involved in the day-to-day management of the government for 4 years.
Two of them worked in the White House.
They had senior positions and qualified for it. The boys did not.
So you're happy to be kind of spokesman for the Trump party?
I'm spoken for the Republican Party. And President Trump is our nominee.
No, you're not.
And in 4 years, we'll have a different nominee.
Let's see. Adolfo Franco, thank you for your time. I'm going to thank our panel of experts, some of whom traveled a long way to be here.
I think that there's a lot of Republican. This is the part that the polls aren't showing, and honestly, I'm getting a little tired of the overpolling of Republicans on certain shit, because you can just tell. You can just tell that they're doing this because look at 2022. Again, one of the ones that they don't want to look at because Democrats overperformed, which if you say that Democrats overperform, for some reason, that's not as good for the media sphere. Don't know why. I think that they just need liberals to panic because then we're tune in, I guess. Whatever the fuck. But I'm sorry. That one was that was a rough one. That guy fucking sucks. Oh my God. Well, I had to take a moment to collect myself there because wow. I still can't believe that this guy can just be like, nope, don't ever take Trump at his word. Just look at what he does, and then when he does something, don't take him at what he does. You gotta, whatever. It's as insane as it looks, where it's just don't ever bring up something negative about Trump because Trump is Trump and we need him to win because we need the tax cuts. It's that fucking simple. I'm so sick of pretending it's anything other than that. just a bunch of rich fuckers trying to stay rich. And they're panicking because there's actual tentative policy that will help the middle class. And once they know once the middle class gets help, they're fucked. Because then we're not going to want to give that up, and we're not going to want to keep giving them tax cuts. The second that middle class Americans vote to tax anybody making over $1 million a year, they're going to shit their pants. But here we are. I live in an area that keeps voting no on new taxes because that's all they're sold is just vote no to new tax, except they don't understand that that falls to us. Fuck, man. I'm so sick of living in this. I really am. I'm so sick of the people that take any information that is just, confirmation bias, and then they run with it. But then they're like, oh, well, what do you mean that that there's an economic policy that when there's an actual economist that looks at it, that it means that we're going to add to the deficit and then we're going to add to the inflation and we'll pay more. Then what? Oh yeah, that's right. He'll blame the Democrats. He'll say it's the left. He'll say it's obstructionist fucking politics. Like whatever the fuck, man. I'm so sick of grading Trump on this curve. I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm pointing out his stupidity, and I'm fucking done. Sorry. I actually mean that. I'm done. I can't do this one anymore. So I appreciate you checking it out. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you already haven't. Trying to get to 1,000. Really appreciate the help. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.